one is always likely to succumb to the charm and lose consciousness and then sleep for hours on end, deluding him into believing that he was deeply meditating. It happens quite often over a period of time. The result of the secretions of soma is multiple. Mind becomes calmer and happier. Nervous excitement comes down. Body gets a peculiar shining. One gets less argumentative and always in contented mood. IQ increases. Mind becomes capable of perceiving issues of life in a better way. In fact, soma means manas. Madhu is a next major secretion. It boosts tapas tremendously. It is felt as a thick liquid like honey. In fact, madhu means honey. The psyche of the sadhakas get heightened. Mind acquires special powers to see the past and peep into the future. It acquires what is called Vakshuddhi. That is, whatever one spells verbally is likely to come true immediately. One may get into Samadhi, a state highly talked about in yoga literature. Not so really. One matures in yoga and becomes highly responsible, dignified, and charismatic. His words ring the truth. He gets yogic visions, both audio and visual, and intellect improves. The upward journey of Pranam nears its destination. It is secreted by the hypophysis cerebri. Before the introduction of Amrita, it is necessary to present Atman now. Atman, from life finite to life infinite. It is strange but true that until the modern era, man studied the universe and yet did not care to investigate his own body. His study of the universe over the centuries yielded him enough knowledge. He perfected a technology so potent that through it he could show truly amazing results. Innumerable discoveries and inventions reinforced his belief that science and technology are truly great. Thus, material sciences could develop faster than the sciences meant to study his own body. Science studies matter. Majority of scientists by training think and talk in terms only of matter and material reality. Science distinguished primary qualities of objects from secondary qualities. The primary qualities are measurable. The secondary qualities are form, color, smell, and beauty, which are not measurable. The primary qualities, separated from secondary and expressed in mathematical language, brought science to humanity. René Descartes also separated body and soul. Science and technology have changed the course of life for the modern man. It has granted him so many benefits that he is tending to overlook a few possible bad spots found in them. Science is always viewed with awe and wonder. Well, does man and his body fit in here? The so-called benefits granted by science and technology, though commendable, have not rendered him real service. In the wake of benefits come fearful prospects of a nuclear war, crippling diseases and painful death. Modern man is supplied with so much that he is enjoying them less and less. He has a fear in his mind and he is sick in his body and mind. In fact, he is today totally bewildered. What is life after all? How many of us care to think for a while? But think we must, if only because we are endowed with mind meant for thinking. Man today knows much of the external world, but his own body and mind remain unknown to him. Really, man is unknown. Medicine is the only science that cares to investigate the biological aggregate we call man. The science of medicine has a long past but a short history. Only 6 pioneers are widely known. They are Hippocrates, Aristotle, Galen, Vesalius, Pasteur, and perhaps Harvey. With different branches of medicine could achieve tremendous progress. In their quest of understanding the living man, they cut open the dead body, they find out its structure and imagine its functioning. The technique of surgery has taught them the body functioning as nothing before. Here in medicine also, as in other sciences, the emphasis was laid on the material side of the body, neglecting the mental side. Pray, why so? The answer is that the science of medicine, like other sciences, would like to think and talk in terms only of material events. We said only the material events and nothing more. They investigated nothing more that is significant. Well, does not man have a mind which acts powerfully on the body? Man has emotions, intellect, intelligence, unconsciousness, dreams and the like, which together constitute the mental side of the organism. Who do not know that emotions affect us tremendously? Fear can stop digestion, guilt disturbs health, pleasure brings on blushing. The mission of healing the sick has brought in mixed results. Surgery and hygiene are the blessings for mankind. Other aspects are not so. Removal of a malady is often seen to leave behind an uneasy calm. Absence of disease is not health. What has man learned about himself through the science of medicine? More about the structure and functioning of the body, but about mind, just a little. This is all the knowledge that man has gained about himself. Medicine has taken the first step. Most countries in its future endeavor. The man known is but a fraction of what remains to be known of real man. In our body flows electricity, which plays a pervasive role in governing vital cellular functions. Cells understand the language of electricity through electrical signals. We all wear an invisible electromagnetic garment that shields us from head to toe. From the moment of conception, electrical currents begin to flow in the tiny fetus, guiding the intricate process that culminates in birth. We retain the electromagnetic garment as a birthday suit that we carry throughout our life. Disturbance in these fields portend illness. In fact, this is the basis for acupuncture diagnosis. When our body gets injured, our primordial current flows strong until the wound heals up. Healing or regeneration of limbs is facilitated by the higher production of electricity. Thus, given the electrical environment, the cells in our body could be made to differentiate into new tissues. Salamander can regenerate as much as 1/3 of its body mass. This process of regeneration is, in its very essence, a rebirth. Cells are capable of extraordinary feats. When a salamander regrows a limb or an organ, red blood cells at the injury site lose their specialized function. They return to primitive, almost prenatal state, ready to be remolded anew. In fact, this cluster of amorphous cells is called a blastema. As blastema grows, undifferentiated cells regroup into complex tissues of the body part that they have to replace. Electricity plays an important role in this regeneration. Our body has retained the capacity to regenerate. It is the controlling factors that is lost by us. Electricity generated in JAPA and TAPA is the controlling factor in the regeneration process. Electricity is part of Agni, which is the generic name for all forms of energy. Electromagnetic fields surrounding our body roughly parallel the major pathways of the nervous system. Nerves conduct electrical charge and signal everywhere. Blastema formation is due to these signals. It was believed that there is only one mechanism by which nerves transmit an electrical signal in a series of brief impulses that move down the nerve fiber. There is yet another method for the nervous system to transmit information. The cells coating the outside of peripheral nerves carry a continuously flowing current, in contrast to the small burst of electrical activity the nerves themselves conduct. This constant current radiates throughout the network of peripheral nerves and give rise to the field pattern all of us display. Disturbances to these fields give rise to illness. The prana triggers the mechanism of repair and restore process through the thalamus. If the current produced is sufficient, the restorative process would be speeded up. It is well known that japa and tapa produce enormous current in the rhythmic movement of vayu. In fact, the term tapas signifies heat, which is part of Agni. The other term for tapas is meditation. Electricity need not always come from the prana, though it is a supreme source. There are storage and local batteries located everywhere in the body. For example, apart from the nerves being the source of electrical voltage, the bones become electrically polarized when bent or broken. Bone's crystalline structure converts mechanical stress into electrical energy. These odes in turn help to guide cellular repair mechanisms, beginning with appearance of blastema in the case of fracture at the fracture site. Supporting evidence has come from NASA, USA. Astronauts, over the prolonged space travel, develop a condition called osteoporosis. The astronauts' bones become thin and brittle owing to a loss of calcium. This becomes more serious for prolonged stay in space. Astronauts produce less bone so that they can adapt to life at zero gravity. There they don't need big heavy bones in the weightlessness of space because their bones was under less mechanical stress. Hence, it did not generate the normal electrical voltage that helps maintain bone formation. There is as yet an aura of mystery around the working of the cell. Some level of current is required to exert cellular control if the amplitude and frequency of the electromagnetic current do not fall within a specific range. Cells fail to respond. Our prana knows the biological waveband with which it sends signals and establishes the channel of instructions. In cellular communication, ions, and not words, are the key elements. Key elements at the waveband. The electrical signal sent by the prana through the thalamus move ions such as sodium, magnesium, and calcium across the selective membrane of the cell. This in turn unleashes a chain of chemical reactions within the cell itself. DNA is involved here. It is the prana which determines so as to which genes are to be switched on or switched off. This way, a cancer cell can be transformed into a normal cell or a bone cell into a cartilage. Prana, the master, can modulate anything and everything, since it is the primordial builder of this wonder called the body. With a very strong magnetic field, neurological changes take place, since the electrical signal is within the range of the alpha and beta waves of the brain. This enhances brain activity and excellence on the one hand, and the cellular regenerative activity on the other. Hence, infinite possibilities will open up the technique of JAPA and Tapa. With the brain working with fuller potentialities and the organism raising up to the expectations of the Atman, Pranam can work wonders within the body. It can conquer cancer, regrow limbs and organs, improve and later actualize the infinite potentialities of the brain for the service of the indweller, the Atman, that is me. That Pranam requires nutrient in the form of asana is noted above. This way it is supposed that all other entities such as manas, Atman, sense organs do not require asana. What about the juices such as soma, madhu and amrita? For whom are they secreted? Like O2, soma and madhu are poured into blood and distributed everywhere. Since asana is gaseous and only Pranam consumes it, soma and madhu are liquids and Pranam cannot consume. In fact, it has no means of consuming them. The cells do not partake in the consumption of asana, but they all delight looking at Pranam getting satiated with food. But they get their due share of juices which make them happy and contented. Madhu higher and amrita, as noted earlier, hypophysis cerebri secretes madhu, but there is another gland, epiphysis cerebri, which also secretes a juice quite similar but superior to madhu. The effect of madhu is accentuated in this madhu higher. The juice prepares the sadhakas to an important coming event of the merger of Pranam and Manas with Atman. Amrita is a superior juice highly talked about in terms of yogic blessing. It is the juice graced by epiphysis cerebri known as pineal gland. The rooting of juice is worth noting that epiphysis cerebri secretes amrita at two different levels. In the first level, it is poured into the blood, poured into the blood. This happens just before self-actualization. Later, amrita is rooted through the third ventricle and flow into the cerebrospinal fluid. This signals the top yogic event, the event that makes the individual into a blessed one. Divinity touches him and the dawn of enlightenment bursts forth. The existence of Atman is not a presupposition but a certainty, as also the existence of Vayu, Asana, Pranam, Manas, Brahman and the like. They all can be realized in yoga. While Ashana is an event, others are entities with well-defined characteristics. Atman and Pranan, along with Vayu and Brahman, are talked of very highly in eulogizing terms in Indian philosophy. They are not to be speculated upon, but to be realized by each one of us. Jnana, that is knowledge, has no meaning unless it becomes Swajnana, self-knowledge, meaning direct experience. The application of yoga makes Swajnana possible. In their ascending spiritual journey, Pranan with Manas reaches the proximity of the third ventricle. A momentous event is to take place now. Atman the Lord and Pranan the Master have to merge with each other. In fact, it is the Lord which allows Pranan to go near it and touch it. The event follows after Pranan knocks on the door of the third ventricle. Knock, knock and knock. The knocking is done through the use of specific code which only the two involved understand. When Atman identifies the knock of Pranan, the door is thrown open, bright golden blue light appears inside, but nothing is seen. In a split second, Atman sucks Pranan with Manas in and the door is closed. This is in fact Laya, even though momentary. In this yogic state, Manas is totally absorbed while Pranan is kept in close proximity. The great event over, once again the door is opened and the two are shunted out, and then the door closes. This divine merger of the three is what is known as yoga. Yoga simply means to join. The purpose of yoga sadhana is to get at this experience. Then comes the state known as sakshatkara. The union of Pranan, Manas and Atman is one type of realization. Better watch closely the sequence of events that take place in the event described above. Atman stays at the third ventricle. Manas is nothing but Atman, but only a part of it sent down to conduct the bodily metabolism with Pranan. When actual merger takes place, Manas, even if momentarily, loses its identity, and when this happens, there is only the Atman. Pranan never loses its identity, but just stays by the side of Atman. When Manas is gone, then our individual identity is also gone. Where then is our mind for us to claim that I am so and so, and that this is my body, etc. This merger demolishes my separate identity. The I, my and me are all demolished. What remains is only the Atman, and Atman stands as my I. In fact, I become Atman, Atman becomes me really and certainly. This unexplainable experience that I am Atman alone is what is known as Atma Sakshatkara. It is I am that. This fantastic event is to be directly experienced and the oneness achieved. Otherwise, claiming verbally that I am that becomes simply nonsensical. This unique experience is supposed to happen to me on a daily basis, but alas, this may better be hoped for than actually achieved. This is one part of self-actualization wherein Atman is realized. Buddhi blossoms, Jnana dawns, and Chitta and Ahankara bloat. Man the animal becomes man the human. We become human from now onwards. Earlier, we were a form of animality. Then comes Lord the Paramapadavi. Tapas is not a permanent asset. It has a high point to reach and a low point to descend to. Constant sadhana alone can ensure its stability. Tremendous willpower and single-minded devotion to sadhana can guarantee any further progress. Here, the grace of individual Guru and God Almighty is absolutely necessary. Maintenance of high position after self-actualization, gaining equanimity against all conflicting forces, remaining steadfast in buddhi and jnana is what is called the attainment of Paramapadavi, the supreme state. It simply means the high state of being. Man becomes super and stabilized against all the odds. And finally comes Brahmatva. Brahmatva is a peculiar concept. It indicates a second type of self-actualization. Note carefully again the sequence of events that leads one to attain Brahmatva. In the yogic merger, it was seen how Manas loses its identity, but Pranan does not. Anyway, both Pranan and Manas return to their respective station and the duties. This sequence is repeated over a period of time. Tapas should continue and finally a state is reached where a different sequence of events take place. It can be explained this way. Manas loses its identity forever, which means that there will be no manas in the organism hereafter. Now, only the two remain against the earlier practice of Pranan being shunted out after the merger. A new arrangement is made where both the Atman and Pranan stay together in the third ventricle. This is called Brahma Sakshatkara. Here, Brahma means simply the great. The Pranan in the perpetual company of Atman becomes truly great. Any individual who could achieve this is said to have acquired Brahmatva. He then can be called Brahmagnanin. Any individual who has achieved this near impossible status, be active with the world and comes down to society so that he can be a leader of men and be called a yogi. The pathway of Pranam. India and China were the two ancient civilizations who had definite knowledge about human anatomy and physiology since at least 5,000 years. While the Indian sages developed the science of yoga and Ayurveda, the Chinese worked out a different system called acupuncture. Acupuncture is a complete system of medicine. The fact that it is still being practiced successfully today, thousands of years later, speaks much for the efficiency of this treatment and the laws and principles on which it is based. Nei Ching, the Yellow Emperor's classic of internal medicine, written about 400 BC, remains the foundation of all Chinese medicine. The book explains the normal functions of the human body and the abnormal conditions which give rise to diseases. As per the therapeutics, the book developed a theory on which the whole of acupuncture is based. This is the meridian theory and is about the flow of life energy through a person's body. Acupuncture treatment is usually carried out by inserting very fine needles, roughly 1.5 times the thickness of a human hair, and they are inserted into specific points of the body. But how does it work? Acupuncture sets out to correct any imbalance that is in the body or in the mind and restore harmony and equilibrium, thus eliminating the causative factors of sickness. If all the organs and systems of the body are functioning properly and in harmony with one another, then there cannot be sickness in man. Traditional Chinese medicine states that the vital force or life force in the body controls the working of the main organs and systems of the body. This vital force or key energy, as it is called, circulates from one organ to another along channels or pathways called meridians, always following a set route. This energy must flow freely in the correct potency and quality if each organ is to function correctly. In all illness, the flow of vital energy is disturbed or obstructed. Bringing the sick back to health means the restoration of the free flow of key energy in their body. Acupuncture directly controls key energy at specific points located on the meridians, that is the energy pathways. When acupuncture needles are gently inserted into these points and manipulated, the energy is either drawn to an organ or dispersed from it or drained and so on. Qi is written in Chinese as Chi, Qi, but it is Qi. There exist in the body 12 main organs and systems. All sickness is the result of disordered working of one or more of the main organs and functions. The Chinese doctors use 4 basic methods of diagnosis. 1. Questioning the patient and others for knowing the background. 2. Listening, the sound of the voice as well as what is said. 3. Observing the mechanical defects, color of the skin, eyes, etc. And 4. Feeling, temperature, texture of the skin, and finally the Chinese pulses. The doctor of acupuncture is able to feel 12 different pulses on the wrist. He feels 6 on the left wrist and 6 on the right wrist. These 12 pulses are located at specific positions on the wrist, and each one tells the exact state of functioning of different organs and systems and the potency and quality of the key energy passing through them. Circulation checks and 3 heaters are both systems. Circulation checks controls the arterial and venous blood and the internal and external sexual secretions. Mental disorders are also controlled by the system. 3 heater regulates and maintains an even temperature in the upper, middle and the lower divisions of the body. The 12 pulses are associated with the 12 meridians situated bilaterally on the right and left side of the body. Other than these 6 pairs, there are 2 unpaired meridians, the mid-dorsal governing vessel and the mid-ventral conception anastomosing meridians. The governing vessel commences coccygeally, ascends mid-dorsally, counters the skull and terminates in the central between the end of nose and the upper lip. The conception vessel arises in the mid-perineum, ascends the anterior midline of the body and ends medially, midpoint between the chin and lower lip. The Chinese also talk of yin and yang, yin being the negative female and yang being the positive male principle. Key energy will be circulating in the yin and yang meridians continuously. Illness is the result of disturbance or obstruction of circulation of key energy, and acupuncture redirects and normalizes the flow of energy. Anatomically speaking, yin meridians are located on the anterior aspect of the body and they rise upwards through the fact from Mother Earth and hence feminine. With the hands upraised towards the heavens, Father God can be pictured pouring energy to the feet. Hence is carried by male yang meridians. All energy is considered as travelling from yin to yang and yang to yin, a cycle without the beginning or without the ending, terminating only in cessation of physical life as you know it. There are 50 to 100 main occupants and hundreds of numerical combinations. The occupants lying along the meridians are used to control the key energy. The meridians are the energy pathways. Now let us see the Soviet and Korean research in this regard. The Soviet research. The Western doctors find it difficult to believe in the meridians and the occupants. Even the Russians doubted it. In fact, before 1960, the Russians led a medical research team in an attempt to disprove acupuncture and ended up so impressed with it that arrangements were made for training and research at 6 universities. In 1939, 2 Soviet scientists, H.D. Kirlian and V. Kirlian, discovered a method of observing and photographing living substance in high-frequency electrical fields. The results were remarkable. Some sort of energy was seen to be constantly moving through the living tissues that showed up as multicolored lights, sparks, flares, channels of light and so on, being discharged from the hand. or the leaf that was being observed under the lens of the microscope. After 13 years of experiments, it was concluded that all living beings, both animals and plants, have a physical body and an energy body. Any imbalance seen in the energy body was reflected in the physical body. The Killians found that from examining the energy body, they could foresee illness both in plants and in themselves. Further, this energy body has an existence of its own. A leaf with a third of it cut off, or a human body that was minus a limb, was seen to still have a complete energy body. A sort of ghost of the missing part was still found there. The energy pattern was found to be affected very rapidly by states of mind such as emotions and thoughts, alcohol and pain. When a person was tired or tense, far more energy was seen to pour out of the body and at much faster rate. The greater the pain in the area, the more brilliant were the lights given off from that area. This energy body is variously spoken of by different religions and philosophies under such names as subtle body, the astral body, the etheric body, linga sharira, and so on. Acupuncturists call this as ki, meaning vital energy or life force. Except for the fact that Dr. Walter J. Kilner of St. Thomas Hospital, London, had discovered at the beginning of this century that the human aura became visible when a person was looked at through specifically stained glass screens. This was really the first time that the scientists had been able fully to see and study this second energy body of a living organism, and they were amazed at what was revealed under Killian photography. Leading Soviet scientists from many different fields were excited. It was not until 1953 that a Leningrad surgeon, Dr. K.M. Gaikin, realized that these Killian photographs and the subsequent experiments were giving visible proof to the premises of acupuncture. Dr. Gaikin had noticed that the position of the main flares on the skin did not correspond to the position of the nerve endings and thus could not be electrical energy. Also, there seems flares were to be seen issuing from plants, and plants have no nervous system. It suddenly crossed his mind that these energy flares might be appearing on the identical spot that the Chinese had charted as their occupants. All of his subsequent research substantiated his hunch that the Killian photography made it visible to all. That the ki energy flows along specific pathways or meridians, connecting the organs deep in the body with the occupants on the surface of the body, was authenticated by the Russian experiments. These experiments showed that this energy indeed takes interior pathways and does not travel along the surface of the body. The channels of light leading to the surface of the body that showed up under the Killian photography did seem to tie up with the Chinese charting of the meridians or the energy pathways, and the thread did indeed seem to issue from the occupants. The Chinese conception is that this vital energy is polarized into the positive yang and negative yin, and that this is quite separate from the electrical energy in a body. Scientists at the Kiro State University of Kazakhstan found that this new visible body was indeed polarized but not electrical. The Killians noticed that the light flares seen coming from the body seems to be of two basic colors, blue and reddish yellow. The Chinese always maintain that there is a constant interplay between the mind, the body and the environment, and linked by the vital energy, and that the positive and negative aspects of the vital energy are constantly fluctuating as they are affected by the changes in the universe, such as weather seasons, moon phases, sunspots, and so on. Caused also by moods, emotions, thoughts, and the like. These findings by the Kazakhstan scientists are accepted by all. They name the energy body as bioplasmic body. When the hands of a healer were held close to a patient under the Killian camera, the energy became concentrated into a small channel of intense light that beamed onto the area of illness. Healing in this instance showed a transfer of energy from the bioplasmic body of the healer to that of the patient. Water held in the palms of depressed psychosomatic or psychiatric patients found to retard the growth of seeds, whereas that held in the palms of a healer increased growth. These observations led the Soviet scientists to believe that man is closely likened to and affected by all life forms in the cosmos than they had previously thought possible. Acupuncture is based on the principle that the highest healing science works with the invisible key energy and not with the physical body. The Killians saw that the knowledge of acupuncture would help them to interpret the changes in the energy pattern, such as changes in color, in intensity of light, and so on. This will lead them to diagnose the type of illness that would appear in the physical body if the energy body was not restored to its normal state. Acupuncture has always believed that the whole of each individual is unique. Consequently, no two patients can ever be treated alike. Each individual be viewed as a whole, distinct and separate organism joined by the vital energy in a unique relationship with the whole organism. The Kazakhstan scientists stated that this second energy body is not just particles. It is not a chaotic system. It is a whole unified organism in itself. To cite one example, just as a tulsi leaf is recognized as a tulsi leaf and no other leaf, so too is the energy body of a tulsi leaf recognizable as the energy body of a tulsi leaf and no other leaf. The Chinese say that key energy in a person is replenished from the air we breathe and the food we eat. According to Kazakhstan scientists, some of the electrons and a certain amount of energy in the oxygen we breathe are taken into the energy body. They were able to watch this process as it was happening. Breathing, they say, renews the vital energy and helps to restore any imbalance in the energy body. Despite the large amount of information that was collected about this bioluminescence by the Killian camera, it was not until 1968 that the scientists at the Cairo State University of Kazakhstan in Asma Alba finally made the statement that all living things, both plant and animals, have both a physical body of atoms and molecular and other counterpart energy body. They call this the biological plasma body, plasma being the fourth state of matter. Masses of ionized particles, electronic protons and possibly others play a role here. The Killian findings is a landmark in the progress of Western scientific understanding. Subjects such as telepathy, extrasensory perception, psychic healing were being given and taken seriously. But one of the sciences to receive its Western seal of approval is acupuncture. The Soviets have fully accepted acupuncture and is being taught alongside conventional Western medicine in many of the top Soviet institutes. What is the position of Korea? Let us see. Korea. Professor Kim Bong-han and his team of scientists have substantiated the existence of meridians and acupoints. They find that there is an integrated system of ducts that form a network entirely independent of the vascular, blood and nervous system. They call this the Kuengrach system. This made up of 4 sets of ducts, all of them linked by terminal ductless but much as the arteries and veins are linked by tiny blood vessels. These ducts are the meridians of acupuncture. The Korean researchers have not only been able to locate the meridians, but they have done detailed investigations of the fluids contained in these ducts. The team has injected a radioisotope into an acupoint and has been able to watch the flow of meridian fluid from the acupuncture point on the skin inwards to the deeper ducts and finally outward again. This has resulted in radio photographic plates that actually reveal the paths of these meridians running through the body. Each organ in the body is controlled by a particular meridian. The team also found that there is a very important constituent of the meridian fluid which they have named sanal. It is a unique type of granule and contains DNA, RNA and protein. It is involved in the formation of cells. Sanal, identified by a radioisotope, fuses into a cell, forms the meridian fluid and later breaks down and recirculates as sanal. At a certain stage, it becomes indistinguishable from the chromosomes of the cell. Kim Bong-han feels that hereditary factors attributed to the chromosomes are in fact part of the work of sanal. The type of cell formed is dependent on whether sanal granules are taken from one meridian or another. That is to say, a liver cell can only be formed from sanal that flows in the meridian that controls the liver. This network of meridians is one of the first things to form in an embryo within the 15 hours of conception in a chick, and they play an important part in the formation of the organs as the body grows. The scientific approach of the Soviet and the Korean experiments appeals strongly to the Western mind, and this is welcome. Now, let us see about the pranan. The concept of pranan corresponds very closely to the Chinese concept of qi. The idea of negative female yin and the positive male yang, the principles are represented by the personality of Ardhanarishwara, a perfect specimen indeed, since Shiva as Ardhanarishwara has both the male and female principles functioning perfectly in him. The pranan is the vital force which keeps the organism as a unique, distinct and separate entity. It supplies energy to the organs through the food that one eats and the oxygen that one gets from the external air. But unlike the Chinese meridians and the Korean Kyungrak system, Indians thought of yet another power over and above the vital force. The vital force thus will be functioning under the careful watch of the master called Atman. But in the normal human beings, this master power will be formed dormant, thus allowing the vital force to carry on the body control in the normal way. The prana, positioning itself principally in the brain, exercises control over the bodily mechanism through its administrative center, the heart. The sinoatrial node, the SA node, which is called the pacemaker, is the tiny center of prana. The third puny center lies in the testicles. Prana will be constantly circulating in the human body along a set path very similar to that of the meridians. It does not require nerves to flow along. Its invisible movement has a visual mark like that of bioluminescence. Unlike the Chinese, the Vedic scientists go a step further and maintain that it circulates in the human body in an unusual way. The holy thread worn by the upper caste Indians signifies this pathway of prana.